Hello, and welcome to our program, Where God Weeps, a program where we talk about the situation of the suffering church around the world. Zimbabwe is home to some of the world's greatest natural wonders. Victoria Falls and the stone remnants of the great Zimbabwe give an impression of a once great empire. Today, however, Zimbabwe is also home to suffering. 80% of the population is unemployed, and many are dying from illnesses which normally should be easily treatable for lack of access to health care. To tell us more about the situation of Catholics living in Zimbabwe, it's my great privilege to welcome Father Timothy Shonhai, working in the Gokwe diocese in Zimbabwe. Father Timothy, thank you for being with us here today in our program.
Thank you.
Father Timothy, just a little bit to yourself, if I may. Do you originate from the Gokwe diocese, or do you come from another part of Zimbabwe?
Originally from Gokwe diocese.
And your family, were they, because the tribes, the ethnic tribe that is there is the Shangwe, if I understand correctly, the majority ethnic tribe. Are you yourself a Shangwe, or do you come from another ethnic tribe?
I'm a Karanga.
Okay.
My parents originally migrated from the Masvingo area, and then stayed in the part of Gokwe South in the Kana area, and then in that area we are basically a mixed group there. We have the Shangwe themselves, we have the Tonga, we have the Ndebele, and the Karangas and the Sezuru. All are now basically immigrants. And then the local people, the original local people of the Kana area, the Tonga people.
And yourself, you come from a family of how many?
Born in a family of 8. Now we are 5. I lost my father. My mother is still living. I have a brother and 3 sisters.
Was the family originally a Catholic family, or are you a convert yourself?
Yes, the family is originally Catholics. All of us baptized Catholics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How was the faith introduced to your family?
Through the missionaries. My father used to visit the local school then in the Masvingo area there. Then at that school, he came into contact with the missionaries. And then with my mother, because she came from an Anglican family, and then later converted to Catholicism when they came to the area of Kana. Your father became one of the catechists, and even up to today, one of your brothers is still a catechist there.
Father, the Diocese of Gokwe, where you are, is described as ultra poor. 60 to 90% of the population are unemployed. It's a cotton growing area. How would you describe the daily life of the people in the Gokwe Diocese?
Gokwe people are basically peasant farmers who rely on farming, and so when there is rain, there is life. When there is no rain, there's no life. So basically, we live more or less a hand-to-mouth existence from our produce of the farm. So we live our life. So we are small farmers, as it were.
Yes. So you're very dependent. How is the situation now with the rain? Have the rains come, or are they not here yet?
Now this year, I'm told, because I was here in Rome, as I said. So this year it was very bad. There was too much rain, and then that destroyed the plants, and so many of the people are suffering because there's no food. If those who managed to get something, they got very little. So we depend so much on buying maybe from those areas that have produced, which is produce. A little bit difficult for the people because they have no source of income other than the land to plant. There is no another source of income in Gokwe.
Father, I want to come back to the question of the tribals because it's still relatively strong in Zimbabwe, understanding the ethnic identity. And I was wondering, could you tell us a little bit about what is positive in the ethnic or the tribal life and what would be negative? First, perhaps the positive side of what is positive in the culture where the church says, yes, this is something good and we try and encourage this within the ethnic community.
The first value in all tribes is the family and the community. So the person belongs to the family. Each child is a child of the family, and from the nuclear family, the child quickly transferred into the extended family, which becomes the community. This is found, be it among the Karanga, the Shangwe, the Tonga, the Ndebele, all value the family and the community life. And so there is a very strong community life. It's become, it's actually a rich source for us because like the Church of Gokwe, we promote small Christian communities. And that as we promote those small Christian communities, we found that our churches become strong and even sometimes easier to work together through the community life there. Mm-hmm. And then as we are trying to promote also the marriage, the life of the couples, it has been also fun. Life is ever valued. It has been a value, and anybody who kills is actually said to be maybe an outstanding member of the community. Death is never valued. So if we find now with these issues of abortion and even up to today in our communities, they are always spoken of as an anomaly. And so it's one aspect that we have found rich also for the church, that we have a strong cultural background that promotes life itself.
Culture of family and life.
Yes, yeah.
I would like to come to this question of abortion and these issues later and how today this perhaps is changing. But then to the other side of the negative side of the ethnic tribal approach to life, where would be some examples of things where the church is saying, well, perhaps this could be, an education could be improved here?
In the family itself, from the cultural tendency, there is a tendency to have not a monogamous marriage,
to have polygamy.
That is found among the Shangwe, even among the Karanga. That was ever there. So there is always a tendency to fall back. You might have sometimes a very good Catholic, and after some time you find the man has taken the second wife. And that is very negative. And the church is, of course, trying every time to...
How do the men respond when the church comes and says, actually, one wife is the ideal and not two or three? How do the men respond to this?
Well, there are two ways. Some may take it and accept, they come to terms with it and accept that, no, I aim for the church and I'll give whatever the church says I will do. But others will tell, okay, stay with your church. And so there is a tendency, like among the Shangwe, very few men would want to be Catholics, Of course, now the situation has changed. The cultural bond is no longer as strong as well, but they would not want that.
So you see more women in the churches?
Yes, and then even because the other part of Gokwe, the southern part, is the Ndebele. There are also many women there in that area, because men also don't accept the Ndebele men are not also ready to take the
step.
The step. No?
Yes.
So is that something negative that is cultural, that is drawing us back, as it were.
Yeah. And how about life and death and the ancestors? How is this treated in the traditional culture?
when one dies, we take a year. After a year, we have a ceremony where we call it bringing back, which is actually called the Kurova Guba in Shona or Umbuiso in Ndebele. So we bring back the spirit to stay with the family. But
so the person is buried in the ground, there's a funeral celebration.
The belief is the person is buried in the ground, but the belief is the spirit never dies. That is culturally, we believe in a life after death. So the spirit of the dead lives. But those, we actually call the ancestors the living dead. So they are with us. But after some time, we have to bring them for the protection of the family. But of course, for those who are married, not for those who are not married. Yes, for those who are married are the ones we hold the ceremony and then we bring them back to the family. And so the belief about the heaven, which we hold in the Christian view, and the traditional view,
there's a slight contradiction.
There's a slight contradiction because we believe when one dies, goes to heaven.
Yes.
And then the traditional way is this: when one dies, the spirit is roaming around till it is called back to stay in the family, and that is always brought some kind of difficulty, especially in catechesis, where one is baptized, but after some time falls back because it still goes on to the belief that the spirit has to.
It's almost out of fear.
Yes, the fear of what may happen if I don't bring the.
If you don't honor and bring the spirit back.
Yeah, and so that is one area that is a bit difficult, especially in catechesis.
Father, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to watch now an update to the situation facing the church in Zimbabwe.
Spiraling inflation, widespread poverty, political meltdown. These are just some of the problems facing the people of Zimbabwe. The Catholic Church is doing its utmost to bring hope to a desperate situation. But where does the focus of her efforts lie? And what are the roots of the Church in this land?
The political situation in Zimbabwe for Catholics is a bit challenging in the sense that we have our Catholic faithful involved very strongly in politics. They are all coming to church, but they are not belonging to the same parties. The same people whom we are preaching to sometimes, when they now go outside there, they tend to turn against each other.
I would say right from the 1980s, when we thought we had got independence and the democratic system was promising. But really, if you look at the way how the elections were held, just from there, it was a lot of violence was involved. And that fear was really instilled in the larger population.
So that trauma is still there. That fear is still there. But we cannot live with that fear forever and ever. We need to move on. We need to build. We need to change.
We are trying to conscientize our Catholics that we become mature, that politics is not meant for you to shed blood.
I don't know, I would like to see that there is a real, clear harmony among the people. No matter which party or which opinion do I have, right? But to live in this multi-party society where real and true democracy can prevail.
Children are brought up with differences. Some are already angry with each other because they simply belong to different parties and to different families. And as a church, we cannot watch this and keep quiet. We need to reach out to help reconcile the children so that their influence can also go to the parents. And I see education as one of the only powerful tools still at our disposal. We have been approached as a church if we could establish a school. These premises we are in have been granted to the Catholic Church, and this building is meant for a church. The community comes to pray here on Sundays. During the week, the children are learning here, and on Sundays we come to worship. We hope by God's grace that we will be able to build a school where the children will be able to learn well. When children get sick, they are sent to nearby hospitals where there's generally not enough medicine. And because of that, they are given prescriptions, asked to go and buy the medicine, and most of them cannot afford it. So the children sometimes just come to school sick because they can't afford the medicine. I'm reminded of that because of this young child I'm seeing here. They stand on the bench there. This is rash. It can be treated, but unfortunately, probably there is no money to buy the medicine. It just comes to school. Our real concern is if it spreads to other children, then a school won't be that good place to send children to. So we are very much concerned, but we are happy that they are contented themselves. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you.
Follow, follow, follow. Follow the leader. I clap, I clap, I clap. 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 I jump, I jump, I jump. I jump, I jump, I jump. I jump, I jump, I jump. I sit, I sit, I sit.
Illnesses in the schools. We have some really identified cases of children with AIDS. Now they are asked to go to get medicine from time to time, particularly in the rural areas. And the cost of transport from their place to the big hospitals is very, very expensive. You always watch it with tears dropping because you can't do much, you can't help everybody. And yet the desire is there.
I think children of Zimbabwe loves to go to school because they know that education is the key to success. If there is no education, there is no life. But we can see that we do not have enough resources at schools.
No exercise books, no adequate resources for their family members to support them. So it's so difficult for us to go to school.
When we opened school this term, one school had only 2 teachers out of 15. Another school had 3, also out of 15. And the third school had only 1 teacher out of 12. The major challenges that we are facing presently is that of teachers who are disgruntled about the salaries that they are getting. It is far below the poverty datum line.
Our basic needs is we don't have. Those teachers who are smiling outside, it's just because Zimbabweans are good at smiling, but truly speaking, we are in trouble.
So we find that at times, people will not come to work, not because they don't want to, but because they do not have the money.
Our parents are putting effort to send us to school, but some of the teachers may not come, yet we spend the whole day sitting. We find it difficult to read on our own without teachers.
The food situation is also affecting us, and affecting very much. We don't have access to the staple food as we had. Our people do not have access to it as in the past. Is scarce, at times is not available at all. We see people suffering of hunger.
The children are coming hungry to to school, and they go back hungry unless they get some supplementary feeding at school.
I'm currently seeking for something which is good for me, which is food, and other resources for learning, like books, something like that.
The first meal they will have is lunch, which is provided at school. The whole morning they are trying to learn on hungry stomachs.
I'm the example of someone who's suffering from hunger. So I walk at least 7 kilometers. By the time I approached this school, I felt very exhausted. So it becomes a challenge to me to learn very well.
There's been an exodus of teachers going for greener pastures outside the country. The fees are too high for the people. So most of the children are going to school to go and while up time. They are not teachers.
We have lost many professionals, like qualified teachers, experienced teachers. They are going to neighboring countries.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our program Where God Weeps. It's my pleasure to be here with Father Timothy Shonhai from the Gokwe diocese in Zimbabwe. Father, thank you for being with us here again.
It's my pleasure.
Father, what would you say now in terms of the priority of needs? We talked a little bit about education. Is healthcare an issue? And how is the church? I mean, for example, people are dying from diseases from which they shouldn't be dying. Their treatments are available, but there's just not the money to look after them. How does the church also try and work in this question of healthcare?
The church has some hospitals. We have, actually at the moment, we have three. We have three, Kana, Chirea, Mtora. And through those hospitals, they are trying by all means to offer the services. Actually, they are also our best in judging in the situation of Gokwe, but they are not big hospitals, and because they don't even have doctors, they are just they don't just have nurses. Doctors. They are nurses, but we consider them the best. Even as we have a government, I think 2 government hospitals in Gokwe. But we don't even find the best services there in the government hospital.
It's better in the Catholic hospital.
It's better there in the Catholic hospitals. But what we lack are the doctors. We have the nurses who are mainly religious sisters who are doing the administration. And then through also the assistance of the funders, we have some medication, which our hospitals have remained reliable on that aspect. That way, at least we sometimes find
the medicines.
But because we don't have the doctors, we also don't have the equipment. Like we cannot talk of any operation that needs anything internal. It's never done there. Mm-hmm. So that's what we lack also most. And then on the drugs. Because our hospitals are situated almost at a distance from each other and even from the people, many of our people cannot even go there because of the network, distance. Poor road network that we have, the communication. Mm. So many people die. It's true. Many people die, like malaria. It's one thing that would not be killing people today, but still we have people who are dying because they cannot access to the hospital. They might give them
the medicine if it's available.
If it's available. Yes.
And a quick question: the doctors are not there because they've all left the country already, or why are there no doctors?
Yeah, it's because many doctors left the country. we have few doctors at what are called the general hospitals that are big, the bigger hospitals that are run by the government. We have very few doctors. So in the hospitals that are considered to be smaller, they've a visiting doctor who might go there once in a while, and so there's never a presence of a doctor nearby to the people. No, there's only maybe one. Like I remember in the Gokwe South, there's one doctor for Gokwe South, and we're talking of
hundreds of thousands of square kilometers. No?
And there's only one person to take care of it becomes horrible.
It's terrible.
Yes.
Father, in all of this, how do you keep your hope? I mean, we've talked about hunger, food security, we've talked about educational problems, we've talked about medical problems and the health issues. How do you keep your hope in face of all of these seemingly overwhelming challenges?
Like the psalmist, I would say our hope is in the Lord, because we believe that with the help of the Lord, at least we are moving on. Gokwe is not longer the same as it was maybe some days back. People are going on. People are going on. And we are hoping that also through the assistance of one another, not only in Gokwe,
but in the Universal Church,
in the Universal Church, we will manage to reach a point where we say things have really changed in Gokwe. So our hope is in the Lord and in His people, and then we will go on.
And God is good.
Yes.
Father Timothy, thank you for having been with us today in our program.
You are welcome. Thank you very much for this reflection. No?
Thank you.
It has been a nice moment to just think of Gokwe. You brought me back home.
Yes.
Okay.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today in our program. If you'd like to know more about the Diocese of Gokwe, the work of Father Timothy, perhaps how you might be able to help, I would encourage you to look at the contact information at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.